Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 21 of Conscious Conversations in Parenting. Today, we're going to be talking about processing emotions in a healthy way, totally different from what we've been taught, I believe. Anyway, we'll be diving into that. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for joining in on the conversation. My name is Angie, and I'm the creatrix of Journey to Soul. This channel, that's my business. I use my intuitive gifts to support people in creating the life that they want. I'm a mom. I have a family. I have a husband. I have a 10-year-old, almost 5-year-old, and I'm on an awakening journey. I've been on an awakening journey my whole life, really. And part of that is choosing to be more conscious as a parent. And we have a lot more knowings, I think, than our parents might have had, right? And we've come into a lot more knowings, those of us that choose to sort of awaken to this greater part of who we are. And in that, sometimes life gets a little more confusing, I think. And this is why conscious conversations is something I just love to engage in with anybody, and yeah, anybody that will have conscious conversations with me. I like to do this. Anyone that wants to expand their mind. And in this, we share it. By why we share it with you guys is because you have so much valuable insight too, and we want to learn from you as well. And so we want to include you in on the conversation, because if we need it, I guarantee you need it too in your life. Anyway, I'll let Natalie introduce herself to you before we jump into this.
Thank you, Angie. Yeah, I've been on this awakening journey again my whole life, but really, especially the last few years, I've really focused my awakening on day-to-day stuff, right? Whether that's parenting, whether that's at work, whether that's being a child to my parents, right? Like just all these different experiences that life puts you in. How can you wake up in these moments? Like all these lessons um, that we get from ourselves or from other spiritual teachers. How can you apply it to these everyday lives? And sometimes it gets messy. Sometimes it gets really hilarious. And I just love that there's this space that Angie created that we can share all together. Um, just our experiences and talking about it and having like those introspective conversations is so important, um, because even just you guys watching um, in this moment will unlock um, some knowing within you.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Natalie. So let's talk about emotions. Let's
uh,
talk about when you think
let's
of
talk about
emotion.
how, oh sorry, I
Oh, it's
just,
okay.
oh, right when you were introducing the topic, when you're introducing yourself, it just came to me like people love putting emotions in the good bucket or the bad bucket.
I was just going to say that. I was literally just going to say, when you think of emotions, does it go negative or does it go positive? Like, what's
Mhm.
that programming that you have around emotion? I think it's a pretty collective experience for it to be negative, to be something that we need to deny, to be something that we need to avoid, for to be something that we need to suppress. And I said this in our last episode, episode 20, like we we create more suffering when we suppress emotion, when we suppress anything. And so the way to create less suffering in your life, because you are the creator, it is to face it. It's to, you're an emotional being. I hate to break it to you guys. Humans are emotional beings, and emotions are waves of energy that move through. And this body, this vessel, it's designed for that energy to move through it. I heard a really interesting thing recently with Carrie Kay, and it was shared with me because I'm moving through a lot of anger. Anger is not an emotion that I've felt comfortable to feel, and I've been really, really accelerating in my growth because of feeling it. And so she shared this video with me, and something that she said really spoke to me. And she was like talking about feeling, like feeling and emotion are different things. And she said, feeling is what we are as beings. We are feeling beings, right? So we feel, that's how we receive information. We feel. And emotion get it, we label it. We label this feeling and we create it into this emotion that we put in the good or a bad bucket. And when we put it in the bad bucket, we hold on to it instead of allowing it to move. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because some emotions feel good, right? Like happiness feels good, laughter feels good, um, like anything pleasurable feels good. So we're like, oh, this is how we should always feel, right? Because we didn't, when we were born, there wasn't like a sticky note on our forehead that said, oh, FYI, you know, you're actually you're actually a vessel to just feel emotions. Like it doesn't
Yes.
matter, there's no good or bad. It's just the experience of feeling it.
Yes.
That's what we're
Yes.
here for, right?
We're here for
Yeah.
the
And
experience.
because we, yeah, because we purposely forgot this, like, let's not blame ourselves. We did this on purpose so we could have these conversations. But sometimes it feels, like it's sadness, right? Grief. Ugh, no one wants to feel that, right? Like you just kind of feel heavy just when I say the word grief, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we gotta learn that it's just an emotion. And a while ago, I had a beautiful vision that came through, and I'm pretty sure I shared it with you, Angie. But when you said earlier about these waves of emotions, that's literally what it is. It's just like this huge, like wave, like an
Wave.
ocean that's just passing through you. And sometimes the wave is anger or grief, and it's huge and it's moving really, really slowly,
Yes, it's
but we don't
dense.
recognize that it is simply a wave of energy. We're like, oh, it's something wrong with me, or it's something wrong out there, or it's the neighbor, or it's this. No, it is literally just
A
a
wave of
wave
energy.
that is going through this earth plane. And
Yes.
our only job is to just like be present with it, just feel it, but it's not yours. It's not like the wave has a sticky note and it's like Angie's anger or Angie's grief.
Yes.
No, it's
A
just
wave
that
of
emotion.
energy.
And yeah, and people are going to respond differently to each wave, and that's okay, right? Maybe, like especially grief, right? Well, some people will, hit up the bottle and stuff, or maybe get violent, or get really sad, or go hide under the blankets. But these are all people's responses to the wave. But your job is to recognize that it is a wave, and sometimes it moves really slowly, and that's what feels
It's
uncomfortable, right?
painful.
And then you have these lighter waves of joy and uh, I don't know, whatever, right? Happiness, celebration.
Gratitude.
But they're light, right? And sometimes and they move a lot quicker. That's why
Yeah.
we feel more buoyant, right?
Yeah.
Um, but again, so then it feels good to our human vessel. So then we're like, oh, that's how I should always feel. Or
Yes. And then
that
we
one's
chase
mine,
that.
right? Sometimes we're also very possessive and we
Yes.
chase it, but it's like you don't have to chase it, man. Just be still, and because it's invisible weight.
Yes.
Okay, our physical eyes cannot perceive this. Okay, our third eye can, and if you're not there yet, that's okay. But it's just all emotional waves that are just moving through this earth plane. And we have to remember that it's not our job to label them, it's not our job to possess them. It's just our job to be with them and just experience it. Because before we decided to drop in, we could just imagine. The only thing we could do is imagine how it felt like. imagine how it felt like when, when a new baby was born into a family, or imagine the grief of losing a loved one. We could just imagine it. We didn't actually know what it felt like because we had no physical vehicle to feel it. So then
Yes.
when the opportunity came, we're like, shit, yeah,
Yeah.
sign me up.
I
But
want to
now, but you
experience
forget
all that.
though. But then the trick is that when we are in these human bodies, we forget about all that stuff before.
Yeah, we do. Excuse me, hold on a minute. Yeah, we do. And you know what's interesting is these waves of energy. Like, so, in Buddhism we always talk about suffering. There is suffering, right? And what we aim to learn when in practice, in spiritual practice, is that you can create less suffering. Right? And part of creating less suffering, they talk about three poisons, and three poisons that humans all go through is craving, aversion, like you want to avoid, avoidance, craving, and indifference. All three of these things cause suffering. So when we feel good, when we have that light feeling, and you talked about it, it's really light, so it moves faster, which means that experience moves away from you faster. And it creates this longing, it creates this chase for that feeling again, right? And this is where addiction comes in, right? And we want that light feeling again, right? Instead of realizing we can just create it, right? I'm not even going to get into more of that, but there's when we have those lighter emotions, it serves to be aware that you want to keep that feeling, right? And it stops us from being present with the feeling and allowing us to fully experience the feeling, which is what we're meant to do. And then when it feels heavy and dense, it moves slower. So the experience lasts longer. And then what happens? The other poison is avoidance. We want to avoid it. We want to get away from it, and so we chase the good feeling to not have to
Mm,
feel again, to not have to experience that feeling, but that's what we're here for.
yeah. And then you get stuck in that cycle, right? Of the three
Yes.
poisons. To me,
Yes,
it seems like you're just
between those
stuck in a
2.
loop,
You do.
this self-created loop that we're not aware of.
Yeah, you do. And then
Uh,
indifference, a lot of us just shut off, and then
yeah.
again, we're not experiencing them, and that's what we came here for. And so you're creating more suffering, and we convince the mind will convince itself like, "I'm okay alone. I don't want," and I don't wanna, feel great. I don't wanna feel like, you get indifferent, but then you're not experiencing life again. You're not experiencing. And
Mm,
that's what we came here for. And so we create so much suffering through that. And so today's topic, right, is processing emotions in a healthy way. For me, and I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that. Processing emotions to me is just being present with the emotion, no matter what it is, whatever the feeling is, just being present with the feeling and not hanging on to it and not running away from it. Because one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned and done practices and activities to really experience it and know it is that if you don't attach thought to a feeling, it will leave you, it can't last longer than 15 minutes at all. It just can't because everything is always moving. And so we the more and I mean the more you master this, the more you master processing emotion and being present with emotion, the faster it moves. And that's what I've been learning with anger. Is I can actually move through it really fast if I let go of making any meaning of it.
Yeah. I love how you said don't attach a thought to the emotion and it'll dissipate longer. Or sorry, it'll dissipate faster
Yeah.
because it'll last longer with the thought. Because the
Yes.
moment you put
You
a
hold it.
thought, the moment you like kind of peg a thought onto that emotion, then your ego goes off on a wild goose chase and is making up all sorts of stuff and is drudging up things from the past and worrying about tomorrow and this and that. And then, next thing you know, you're pissed off at the cat, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Um, and but if you're present with it, so I mean, yeah, like that's my way of processing emotions too, is just to where am I feeling it in my body? Is it in my head? Is it in my chest, my shoulders, right? Like where am I actually feeling this physically? I acknowledge it, and then I'm like, and then tell myself it's okay. I'm feeling it in
Mhm.
my shoulders. Okay, that's okay, right? Um, and then try and so you can do this, or you can take it the next step further and try and just tell your body to relax,
Yeah.
tell your arms to relax, right? And just saying the word, just you know, legs relax. You can kind of feel it a little bit, right? That it is just
Yeah.
there's like just that little tension that's gone, right? Because we have to learn to not label the emotions that we're going through. That's so huge.
Yes.
Don't label them. It's okay. It's okay to feel anger. Okay. It's okay to feel sadness. And that's one of the things, that's an emotion that I process quite a bit in my environment is sadness, like sadness towards, what other people are doing or what other people are choosing, or sadness of myself of um, oh, look how they're behaving. Look how the kids are behaving. Um, does that mean I'm not doing enough for them and feeling that
Right.
like heavy sadness within myself? That's what I'm processing a lot. Um, and again, we're here to feel these emotions. So the more you block them, the more you distract yourself from them, then the longer it's going to take to process,
Yeah. And the
right?
more discomfort you feel in your body, the longer that discomfort stays with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so processing to me is literally just allowing it, accepting it, allowing it to move.
Yeah.
And how do you
And
do
it's
that?
so liberating.
It
I'm
is.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, that's absolutely true. It is liberating. That's what I'm learning
Yeah.
too about anger.
Yeah. Yeah, once you get used to it, because it's really uncomfortable telling yourself it's okay to feel angry, right? And that's important too, is the words like,
Feel
I
angry.
am not
Feel anger.
angry.
Yes.
I am feeling angry. I'm
Anger.
feeling the emotion of anger. Okay, that's very different because you are not that emotion. Because that, when you say that, that's you pegging the thought to that
And we are
emotion.
programmed. I am sad. I am happy. We're programmed that
Yes,
way.
yes, I am. Yeah, especially I am happy.
I
Like
am.
you're feeling the emotion of happiness. You're
Yes.
feeling happy. That's very different
Yes.
because I'm feeling happy means this body is processing the emotion of happy.
This
Not
body
I
is
am
feeling that
happy, because
now
then you're putting all this pressure on yourself
to
that
be
I have
happy
to be happy. That's me. No,
because
happy's just
I am
and
happy.
happy is yeah,
You set
yeah,
yourself up for failure
yeah,
like then so if you have programmed you're programming your mind saying I am happy, I am happy, I am happy, and then a wave of anger comes through you. Guess what? A wave of anger feels wrong if I
yes.
am happy.
You nailed it.
Right.
You
And I
nailed
love
it,
that
my
you
friend.
brought that up. Yeah. You nailed
Yeah.
it with it's true. I am feeling anger in this present moment. We talk a lot about present moment, being in the present moment. Well, in the
Mhm.
present moment, what's actually happening is I am feeling anger. And it's easier to let go of it because
Yeah.
there will be another moment coming up where I am happy or I am bored or or I am feeling sorry, see? It's so programmed. case in point. So broken.
Mm. Or
But
I
I
am
am
feeling
feeling,
indifferent.
yes,
Sometimes, and I'm curious about you, what you think about this emotion, for lack of a better word, indifference, right? Sometimes I feel I'm so present that, people are squabbling or whatever, or
yeah,
there's
and
like
you're
family
neutral.
drama going on the phone. I'm just very, yeah, neutral, indifferent, and it's okay to see, I said it too. I am feeling indifferent. And that's okay. Whatever you are feeling is okay because it's in that moment.
Yes.
And just be present with that's the best way to process emotions, is just be present with it.
Yeah. And if you don't know what it
Yeah.
is you're feeling, I'm feeling a feeling right now.
Mm.
Because that's the
Yeah.
thing. Once you said it, once you attach thought to it, you're adding time to this experience that doesn't feel
Mhm.
good, right? And once you attach a thought to a good feeling, then as that feeling moves fast, because it moves fast and it leaves you, it feels uncomfortable and you want it back.
Yeah, because you're attaching your yourself to that emotion, to joy or to love or whatever. And when you do that, guys, you set yourself up for failure because, like Angie was saying earlier, in that next moment or that next day, when perhaps you're feeling anger or frustration, um, then you're like, oh, well, this feels wrong. This doesn't feel as good. But again, it's because we've been programmed so long of you got to feel this, you got to feel that. If you're feeling, anger or frustration or sadness, or whatever, that's wrong. You got to get out of there. Well, no, the way to do it is just to be present with it. Again, recognize, where do you feel it in your body, right? And be like, okay, that's what I'm feeling right now. And you don't even have to like tell yourself to release it, because just in that present moment,
It
you're
starts
already
releasing.
releasing it because you're not blocking it. Because when you hold on to it, it's like you're grabbing onto it, like you're just like enclosing yourself in a wall with like this anger or this whatever it is. When you're present with it, well, presence is who you really are, and presence is literally like no thing, like Joe Dispenza says, like no thing, no one. There's no time. It's just this. So then you're not imprisoning yourself with this emotion. You're just letting it again flow through. Like I was explaining that visual earlier. It is a giant wave that's just
Uh,
going through whatever moment you're in.
yeah. And it's programming that's made us label it as good and bad, right? And
Yeah.
we came here for the duality, for the polar experiences. We did. And so how can we allow ourselves more often in the moment to have the experience, to just have the experience and know that another experience is coming, right? One of the ways I process emotion too, I mean, I'm an EFT tapping practitioner, so I use tapping to process emotion because tapping moves, and I don't even use words sometimes. Because sometimes, when something's really dense, I don't have the words. I don't have, you lose access to your resources the denser something is. And so I don't have words. Well, that's okay. I just tap. I just keep tapping. And I tell myself, I'm moving this energy. I'm moving this energy. I'm moving this energy. This energy is moving. And I do that
Mhm.
until it feels like it's moved.
Yeah, yeah. And we don't have to name the emotion. If
No.
you don't know what it, you don't have to name it, because again, that's a human concept,
Yes.
because we're physical beings. We have language, which is wonderful, but we also, language is a tool, right? Just like your mind. Don't let it control you. You don't have to call an emotion anything. You could just, like Angie said, just tap it out of yourself, tap the energy out, right? You're just saying you're moving this energy,
Yeah.
because that's all it is. going into details of, grief or anger or love. Those are just
That's part of the
labels, right?
story.
It's
It's
all
part of
just
the story.
energy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
putting light on it, like, every time like, the moment you're like, "Oh, I feel this in my shoulder. I don't know what it is. I don't like it, and I feel it in my shoulder." The moment you have the awareness that it's in your shoulder, it's like turning a flashlight on, right on it. And what happens when you turn light on in a dark room? The darkness just goes away. It's just gone. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean? When you put your awareness on it, you imagine you're a light. Your awareness is a light, and it just goes on it, and it's just gone. And imagine if we could just allow that to be. It's just gone.
Yeah.
And it really is. It truly is. And you might not be there, and that's okay that you're not there yet to know that, but it starts with awareness. It starts with just
Yeah.
recognizing where in your body, because this body is designed to move that feeling through those waves of feeling.
Mhm.
It's designed
It
divinely.
is. Yeah. And trust yourself. And I think it's
Yeah,
because we were never taught this, right? That our bodies are literally made to move
to do it.
emotion through, right? Just like the clouds are literally made to gather water and let it rain or snow or hail. Like that's it, right? Like you don't hear the clouds, being like, shit, I don't want snow, or no, I don't want to be, full of like a lightning. Like they just are, right?
Yeah,
And because they know, however kind of whatever type of intelligence those clouds have, they know that's what they are
it's
made
part
to
of the
do.
process.
And we need this awareness, we need this wisdom in humans. We are
Yes.
just made to just let the emotions flow through us,
Yeah.
because that's what we came here for. We came here to experience all these different emotions. We didn't label them good or bad. Just when
No.
we dropped in and we were taught that they were good or bad.
Yeah. And now we're undoing that.
Mm.
And that's it. Processing emotion in a healthy way is just knowing what you just said. Knowing what you just said, that will lead you on the path of processing in a healthy way.
Mm. Uh, how about the experience of, as we're understanding this, how does it impact the people around us, right? Because sometimes it can get even more uncomfortable because other people may not know or may not understand how to process or how to just let emotions flow through. You're doing it, we're doing it. That doesn't necessarily mean the other people around us are. And that can feel uncomfortable
Yeah, it can.
for others and for ourselves, right?
I've been on the receiving end of that. My children process. I've learned from them how to let these waves of energy very nice. How to let these waves of energy move through, because I watch my children in awe, watching intense emotion move through
Mm,
them. And if I step down and let it happen and just love them through it, that's what I do. I do my Tonglen practice. If they're experiencing anger, I start breathing in anger and sending out love. You know what I mean? Breathing out love as they are doing this. And I watch them move through it. And just like my youngest daughter can move through anger so fast. She's taught me so much. And afterwards, talk about it. She can say to me after she's calm, she'll come and I'll be like, "Do you want a hug?" And she'll be like, "Yeah." And then she will hug and I'll just say, "Wow, that was really tough, eh?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, it didn't feel good." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "But you're amazing. Like, you moved that through you." I'm like, "How do you feel now?"
yeah,
She's like, "Better." Like,
yeah.
amazing. So these are some of the ways that we can share this knowledge with others.
What a beautiful way to phrase that to your child. Like, wow, like that was,
was
Look how you
intense.
just let that anger move through you.
Yeah. And
That
bring
is
it to their
so
attention. How do
the
you feel
impact of
now?
that, guys, like, I'm almost tearing up at how this is such, like, a beautiful impact this has on our kids
Yeah.
because it's so different from how we were taught, right? Which is why sometimes it can feel like a struggle to not label emotions,
Yeah.
right? Because we were even punished for having emotions. Like, that's fucked
Yes.
up.
That is actually imagine the damage that that has done.
Yeah. And see how powerful we are that we are choosing as adults, as parents, to do it so differently and to share it with our kids. Like what you shared with about your daughter, like that is so amazing.
And
It
she's
really
taught
is
me
amazing,
though
Angie.
that thank you.
Yeah.
She's taught me, like, I've been really learning anger, and so I wanna share an experience that I had after that. So after this recent experience where I said that to her, like, wow, I've said this a few times because she had a few we've gone through a lot of life change here, and the little one is expressing it through anger. Um, and it's been really uncomfortable, but I was on Friday, I have Circle every week in my membership, and literally 10 minutes before Circle, she wanted to eat something, but she was having a hard time expressing, and she was expressing anger instead. And I was actually getting really frustrated. And I lost my cool. I lost my shit. And I in front of her, you know. And then what I did was I followed her lead, what she's been doing in processing her anger, right? And I've let her just lose it. So I actually let myself just lose it in front of her. And then I told her, "I'm so angry. I love you, but I'm gonna go upstairs right now." And I went upstairs, and what I did was I made a whole bunch of food. I made a bunch of little snacks for her, and I didn't wanna argue with her. So I made all these snacks for her, and then and I worked my anger out as I was doing this, right? And I put it out on the table, and I came downstairs to her, and she was now sitting down, upset, right? And I came over to her and I said, "Honey," I'm like, "I love you so much." And I'm like, "But I am just so angry right now at you." And I said, "But I want you to know that I love you and I don't know what you want to eat, but I've made a whole bunch of snacks up there for you that you can access. And I'm going to go on my call, you know?" And I was like, "Can I give you a hug? Because I'd love to give you a hug." And she's like, "Yes." So I gave her a hug. And then I came onto my call and I broke down in our call because I was like, this just happened, right? But she went and ate all the food and came down and gave me a hug during the call and then grabbed some Play Doh and worked out her emotions right beside me, working it out with Play Doh. And a big thing happened to me in that circle when I talked because that ended up being the topic we talked about was anger. And I was just like, I could still do you see how I honored myself? Like, I could still feel the anger. I admitted to the anger, but I also brought love into it. That's one of the ways I've been processing anger is bringing love into it, inviting love in. And for me,
Yeah.
inviting love in was making all that food for her, even though I was so mad at her, and coming down and telling her I love her and being honest about how I felt, though. And so she came to talk to me about it after. And she said she did what I do to her. She said, "You were really angry. I'm sorry you were so angry." And I was like, "Yeah, I was." And I'm like, she's like, "Are you okay now?" It's like, "Yeah, I am."
Oh, Angie,
That's
that's so
that's
beautiful.
healthy.
It is.
That's healthy,
And that you
guys. Anger's not wrong.
and it's okay. You can and you that you can bring love into it,
Yes.
right? You're
Yes.
like, I feel so pissed off right now, like at everybody.
Yeah.
I still love you. I love you. And I'm feeling very angry at you right now.
Yes.
And it's okay to have both. And that you
Yes.
verbalize it, you like neutralize it a bit, right? You take that
That's what
like
you do.
intensity out just a bit.
Love neutralizes it. That's
Yeah.
processing. Bring love, invite love in. And if you don't know how to do it, put the intention. How do I bring love in to this feeling? And that's a good way to start. I
Yeah.
love you so much. Start with I love you so much. But right now, I'm so mad at you. Right now, I'm so embarrassed. Right now, I'm so, guilty.
Mhm. Yeah. And one thing that I loved is that it like how you work, how you were preparing the snacks through your anger. So that's kind of the physical component of, because sometimes we don't know what to do and sometimes it feels like we're frozen in that emotion, anger or grief. So let's use a tool that Angie shares often with us of what's the best action for me right now, right? Like ask your inner being.
Mm.
And then maybe it is making all the food, or maybe it's screaming. And but see, and I've done this. I've done both. I've done like felt very angry and lost my shit unconsciously, and felt very angry and lost my shit, but I was aware, and I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing,
Yes,
and it's different. There's
that's
a
what I
different
did.
vibration.
Very different.
Yeah, and the outcome is different as well because it's a different choice.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's experienced differently by the other person. If there's another
yeah,
person there, it is
yeah.
experienced differently when you do that. Because I did that when I lost my shit. I lost it I didn't project it at her. I just lost it in front of her. Like I threw a book
Yeah.
down, I threw something down, and I literally said, I'm so mad, and like lost it in front of her. But I never projected it. And you're right, it feels different.
Yeah, yeah, not projecting it. That is so, I love how you brought that up. You can feel angry, you can
Yes.
feel shame, but don't project it onto others because again, recognize that that's your
Conscious.
mind, that's your pain body, as Eckhart Tolle teaches. That's trying to like
Steer
snare
you
up that other
off.
person's ego and pain body and just like let's be
Let's
pissed off
go.
and like throw shit at each other, right? Like, because the ego craves that, but when you can, and again, because it's a physical release of emotions. Sometimes we need that, right? Probably more often than we realize. We need that physical, and maybe that physical release, maybe that's going out for a jog, or maybe we got a punching bag in the basement or something, right? Or maybe and again, maybe you don't know what it is. Be like, okay, like what's the best thing I can do right now? Ask your inner being, ask your soul, ask God, what's the best like intentional action I can take right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for you, it was making food,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's anyway, what a powerful conversation. Emotion is not bad. That's the takeaway, guys.
Yeah.
It's
Don't
not
label it.
not bad. How can you invite love in? How can you own the emotions? Own them because they're not bad. There's no need to discard them. There's no need to project them, you know.
Mhm.
And that's how you get on the path of processing in a healthier way. The solutions will come. The solutions will come if you will start owning the emotion and realizing it's not bad, having the awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
You came here for the experience. I'm going to have to end our conversation because
Yeah.
our
For
family is
sure.
about to go out. But
Yeah.
this was such a great conversation. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, everyone, listening in on this. If you have, share what your own challenges are with emotion.
Yeah.
We all have unique challenges with
Yeah.
emotion. Some people feel it too much, they feel, or they've been told that they're too much of feeling, too
Mhm.
much emotion. Some people shut it off altogether and don't even know how to feel emotion.
Yeah.
There's a whole spectrum, and we're here to
Yeah.
experience it all and share with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not your emotion. It's just the wave going through you.
Just a way of
Okay.
going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Angie, and thank you for everyone watching.
Yeah.
You guys have a great evening.
Yes.